All right. Hi, everyone. This is Gage Allen. I'm the writer, director, and creator of Destiny Solas, this little personal show that I started many years ago. And this is the director's commentary for episode 2. So we did the first episode a little bit ago, which was, pretty easy to do. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a 20-minute episode, and it's like the beginnings of the whole... so there's a lot of history, like, with the show, from when I first started it and kind of working on it in my free time. Episode 2 is a lot harder of a thing to talk about, I think, for me, just because of how much work was involved, and it's a very different approach, and there's a lot of new things in it. And also just the level of energy and effort and everything by a lot of people to make episode 2 happen. So yeah, this is the, my attempt at doing a director's commentary, for episode 2. There's a lot of development work that goes into it. And episode 2 was, originally, very, very different. There's actually a existing episode 2 that was done back in 2019. So different environment, different structure, different, characters, and that's just sitting on, in an archive, for now. 'Cause that was before basically the reboot, of the show, when that followed the original lore of Destiny, and I, followed the Red War and followed all this. But then when Bungie decided to vault a bunch of stuff, I took a break because it kind of just annihilated the rest of the show. I couldn't actually do the story I'd wanted to tell, that just followed the Destiny story. And so then when I came back, I decided that I was going to just change the lore and just make the version of the world I had started to make back in 2014. So episode 2 was a totally different version, that really tries to focus on the sort of the reality of the world, based on the changes that I had made to the lore and to the tone. So, if you haven't seen episode 2 yet, you could watch it with me here, with my talking over it, but you'll miss a lot of the first impressions feel of it. And there's also just a lot to unpack. There is so much stuff to unpack. And it's definitely taken me several tries to try to get this this director's commentary out, because of just how much, is involved and how much work goes into it. Trying to talk about it. We will probably do a more behind the scenes video and everything. This is just a straight up director's commentary, for those of you that were interested. So anyways, let's go ahead and start the episode. Okay. Player 1 stories, the logo. This opening, I did all the audio for episode 2, or for most of it. But this whole opening wall stuff was me. I spent a year plus on just fine-tuning the audio on this. Those opening lines, I wrote everything. We don't have a writing team, so it's just me for everything, the dialogue, the story. And then, this intro, which went through a lot of iterations, just because it's such a different, Mersa plays so weird, trying to properly how the writing's done, explaining to people, because we brought in CGI in this, and we're creating completely fabricated CGI characters, and then putting them into the game world and making it look like the game is rendering them when they're not. And then also the canon, the changes to canon, which are enormous, in this episode. So yeah, episode 1, some of you were eagle-eyed and saw that I was actually making up a lot of my own stuff, for some of it, in terms of how the light works and all of that. And so I think I saw someone go I think you're doing your own lore here. And I was like, yes, someone noticed. But yeah, a Mercer play. This opening section is really unique. Just the idea of there being a nightmare sequence. And I did some updates to the HUD here. There's a lot of layers, a lot of work to get this like kind of glow effect feel that's like sort of got this like RGB split and yeah. And then this is I can't wait to show this part, but I did this section. You'll notice like with the waterfall here going up. The entire wall section up to the creature encounter, by the way, is in reverse. This is backwards. I started like with where the creature encounter is, like when they show up, and basically walked backwards all the way to the beginning here. So I had to relearn how to like walk backwards, because when you're turning, the like sort of curve, right, of how intense you're turning has to be reversed as well. So instead of like my slow turn and forward, I had to do it more immediately and then let go, and like ease off the stick, so that when I reversed it and it's going forward, it looks a little more normal. But there's a ton of work here, just in the just feel of it. It's also why I go around the stairs here on the right, because if you jump in reverse, it looks really weird. So yeah. But then I had to like hand do the little dots on the radar as well. So when you see it like pop up, and like I had to make sure like, well, like the thing should probably be here or over there. And then Marcus's really good score. It's all original music. It's incredible. But yeah, I wanted this to feel like, something's kind of egging you on, and spending a lot of time on the audio here, and like just going backwards, right? Like returning to the wall, that feeling of returning to a bit of a nightmare, for Vero in the beginning. And then you still have, like, this was interesting to balance because Ghost is being obviously very weird, and he's like not quite Ghost, but Vero's still Vero, so trying to maintain that sort of dynamic. Also, that's fake. We put that screen animation on there to make it look like that was happening. Those lines you're hearing are actually Russian, reversed. So I wrote these lines, got them actually translated, and then had a Ukrainian voice actor voice them. So it's real Russian. The real lines, they really do add to the story. And then here, this is the evolution of the like talking head UI from episode 1, which I actually did the first animation of. Which that's what that animation's from 2022, I think. That's how old that. I just took that in there and like did a bunch of VFX work on it to make it look cool. But at least that one. The rest of the like facial capture, we're doing real facial capture. I'm doing the facial capture for those animations. So I'm like saying the lines and doing the emotions on my face and whatever, and then we're rendering them in and putting them on there. Also, all this audio is fake. Probably about 90 to 95% of the audio in the game in this episode is fake. So I did those steps, the sounds of, surrounding the environment. I had to manually do the footsteps. And this is still backwards. So it creates this uneasiness. And then the music's also ours. And you see the water going up. There's just something that's hard to replicate with just VFX, And then, like, most of that is also not from the game. I, like, did a lot of work to make the bomb mine feel a little stronger. He drops the gun. And this is where I just thought, I want to disarm Vero, And this is all, like, not everyone realized, this is all Destiny 1. There were some people who didn't know this, because there's a lot of, like, work I'm doing. I spent, like, months researching how to sort of improve the visuals of Destiny 1. And we didn't use AI or anything, but I created some techniques and found some hardware techniques actually that really helped like sharpen things and bring it up a lot. So it looks a lot better than if you were to just play it normally. But I'm a big fan of horror and survival horror stuff. And so I kind of turned this into a very, different game at this point. And it's very long. This opening section is very long on purpose. It's like really meant to force you to kind of sit in this uneasiness, which you're starting. It's funny. I had never played Silent Hill 2 before I made this, and I'm playing it the remake now. And there's elements of that I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, it feels like there's like a Silent Hill-esqueness, like some references to that, which is just funny because I never had played Silent Hill 2 before this. So it's just interesting watching that now. But like that's kind of the vibe I think I was really hoping to hit. And then this, see, like still backwards, and it just feels unnatural. And that's, I really wanted to emphasize that, you know, like those are the actual game visuals. The sounds are fake. I'm doing the audio, the like water sounds, and then the spatial treatment to make it sound echoey and more backwards Russian there. Yeah, I mean, it was really, there's a lot of depth to making sure every little bit had some reason to exist and a purpose. And I'm really proud with how the voice sounds here with the spatial treatment on it. That was a lot of work. Because that's part of it, right? Like, it's about making like the voice sound like it's really in this space. And it's like this ultra grounded realism. And then that little like proximity sensor sound is not from the game. That's also, I did that because I thought that added a level of tension to the mines that was a lot stronger and scarier. The humming of the mines is, though, that's such a classic one. Just to reiterate, I did this entire mine sequence backwards. So all of what you're seeing is in reverse still. There were definitely a few times I nicked a mine, had to restart from the beginning. But yeah, like the way the raindrops come up, you know, the water drops go from the floor up. And my idea with this was like Vero had to be careful where he's stepping, because if he steps too hard, the water droplets might go back up onto the ceiling and trip one of the wires. So, or like hit one of the like trip mines. So he has to like move very carefully there. I will say I do think like that set, it was probably, I mean, so this is all designed, right, to teach like you of the proximity thing. So when the creature shows up and the proximity sensors are going, it just adds a level of oh shit, you know, that buildup of something's coming. And so right now it's like, okay, we're just going to carefully navigate this, and then they just get blown through, right, really easily by this unnatural thing that's coming. But yeah, a lot of time was spent on like getting the sound right and getting the sensor sound to feel just as like analog but like distorted as the trip mines are, and the Fallen technology kind of is, and even how the Fallen talk. There's a lot of work there to fit that in. And then you can see I do a little look at the light. Problematic light. Yes, you. Yeah, this just came about because I wanted to make a horror thing, and I went through, and I was always obsessed at returning to the wall afterwards, and like the whole process of going back, and just the atmosphere. And Destiny 1's art style is a lot darker and like much more like just stylized than Destiny 2. Yeah, I really wanted to emphasize that. And you also notice, like, because this is a dream, Ghost doesn't have the ghost sounds. Like, that's on purpose, because he's not Ghost, right? This is Ghost, there you are. And that's a hidden ghost from the game. I just was like, oh, you know what? That would be really interesting to make that the like Ghost just parks himself up there, and it just feels unnatural. It feels weird. Why is Ghost doing this? Because this is it's a straight up nightmare. And then, yeah, this part. And so, yeah, this is that build up. The creature sounds took me a while. as well to get right and find something that's unique. Those flashes are someone else. Our producer Patty I'm directing her. I'm like, all right, fire one now. All right, fire the. And she's shooting at the mines, so I get the flash. So this is the only part of the wall sequence where I had someone else help me with the capture. Everything else was just stuff that I did, but it creates this really uneasiness when you're seeing them go off and you don't see what it is. And then Ghost is rattling off this absolute insanity. And yeah, the creature sound really, I felt really proud of that. That's my voice. So I'm just gurgling and doing weird stuff, which is a lot of my sounds, right? Like it's just my voice doing stuff, and I would just gurgle, and then I just spent a ton of time just messing with it, so you get this really unnatural sounding thing. And then I did the metal bending, because the way I envisioned this creature, like one of our concept artists, Svetlana Krastev, I worked with a lot on Solas. We worked on the creature design a lot, and we had a bunch of iterations of it because I had a very distinct idea for what I wanted. And then visually, when I did the first visual effects pass of the creature going through here, I envisioned it bending the space around it, and so you'd hear the metal creaking out of pain, like it's groaning in pain. And so yeah, I designed the visual effects passes at the beginning, and then had my team sort of jump in and really sell it. And so they took my project files and did this amazing work with it. So it was really nice. I was able to really set up okay, we have it visual here. This is the technique for how it shows up. And I did a bunch of that work. But there's so much more of the episode. It was really nice to have my team just absolutely annihilate it. They killed it. They did such a good job. Took what I did and just made it so much better. And then that's the creature, and what's interesting here is that sound right there, right before it cuts out, was not something I had worked on the sound a lot, but my audio program botched the render and it made that weird screaming sound. And I managed to render the screaming sound out and put it back in. So it's literally like a Ghost in the Machine sound that I didn't make, but some reason my audio thing couldn't handle the 400 layers of stuff and it broke and created this weird screeching. So I did that with a bunch of custom stuff that I had put together. And then we have that little snippet in the middle, which is actually there's a lot of implications there, story-wise. Which I also did because just running from the creature just felt like it didn't have the payoff I wanted, and I just decided to, let's just add this really important bit that I don't think people are going to understand until later. But yeah, and then obviously the smoke from the bridge collapsing was fake, but that ties into the bridge being collapsed in the snow version later on. So it really sort of kind of loops back into itself. But this right here is my favorite creature shot. This one is amazing. My first pass of this, I cut out the pipes and it looked okay. And then when I passed it off to our motion artist internally, Ben, he took the creature files that I had done with Svetlana's designs, and he just killed it. And so I worked with him and I gave him feedback, and we went back and forth a lot and created this, I think, really unique creature look that just to me was like black magic. With what Ben did with that was amazing. And I spent a lot of time on the handheld feel of things, and just there's a lot of techniques that I've spent a long time developing over making official trailers and all that kind of stuff that I was able to really kind of flex here. And then we get this sort of distorted bloop. Rex voicing Vero, absolutely killing it as usual. I could not ask for a better lead. And then this intro. So I animated this intro, and Marcus did the music. Marcus absolutely rose to the occasion and just did an amazing job here. And when I designed the intro, I was animating it with the idea of you see the silhouette of Earth and the silhouette of the Traveler. So there's a lot of things about silhouettes. And Vero being sort of a sun-based, he's got that energy, the solar-powered stuff. I decided to make this very solar-esque as well. Yeah, we have a lot of people in this episode. Avalon Penrose, Fred Tatasciore, who many of you know from Invincible, and he's Soldier 76, and Rex Anderson returns, Ty Harper returns, I'm back as Ghost. There's so many people. I'm very fortunate people were willing to be a part of this. The new logo, new animation, I felt really proud of too. Chapter 2, Foundations. So, good stuff. Yeah, and then we kind of return to this little plot point from episode 1 where we saw this. And what you're hearing are bits from the future part of episode 2. Some of them were cut and like put them in there, but it's like there's stuff with time here that's I really wanted to make sure we nailed. And yeah, Ghost is not real in this entire section, I should also add. We did a lot of visual effects work. It was an enormous amount of work to do this. But yeah, this is kind of a vision I had of like I remember in production, I did a rough version of this. Recorded the like gameplay part of it, and then did a first pass of like, okay, I think that like creating the technique that allows us to do this, but I couldn't decide if I wanted to stick to that or if I wanted to do it purely animation based. And we finally landed on like, look, if we're trying to push the format of immersive play forward, this is much more interesting. Which is honestly true. Like, I think I'm really glad that we ended up going with that decision because this felt like a new way to do it. Animating Ghost, putting him in the environment, in 3D space when he's not really there, felt really important to make it believable. But yeah, so then we have all this dialogue. This whole section I feel really proud of, writing wise. Like this section is my favorite part of the whole episode, I think, just when it comes to like what the characters say and the tone and the emotions that it evokes. And I've heard from a lot of fans like this is also like a lot of them, this section got them emotional, because this is right. Like if you wake up right after the beginning, you don't have time to really talk. You have a little bit of talk if you're brought up from the dead, and then but once you like wake up the second time and you're in the city, like you're gonna have questions, and it's important you're sort of caught up to a degree. Sounds like a good idea. So what's this on my wrist? And then we introduce a new concept here, the tag, which I animated too. This took forever. This was exhausting. Designing the tag UI, it's new. It's far more advanced than episode 1 stuff. That mini map I did from scratch, the 3D design, it built the room out and like did the animation passes on it. Designed the whole thing, the little video, the animations in the video, all the cinematics you see are also in the video, in the tag, are also me. I actually had to invent new ways to capture cinematics in the tower, a new technique that no one's used before, because there are no cameras in the game. There's no cameras, there's no glitch, there's no anything. So I had to come up with new techniques to shoot those kinds of cinematics, which I felt really proud of. So far, no one. It's kind of like a little bit of a secret I'm proud of, but that's what let me shoot that stuff. And then that little log that you saw is actually fully written out from Ghost's perspective. It's Ghost writing, thinking what Vero might want to, like what his perspective was, and it's just hilarious to read Ghost try to do that, and it's just so overkill. Like he's so excited, right? Ghost is so naive, but like he's out in the field. He's done that. He's been out in the field for centuries. Like the dude knows stuff. He has never had a guardian. So this is his, like, he's super excited. He's nervous. He doesn't really know how to do this part quite yet. That's why he went overkill with the log and all the other things. Then, yeah, some little Destiny 2 rooms here. Spent a lot of time on these. This little section. And those particle effects. Ben did those particle effects and took my project because I did the first ghost animation and created the techniques for it, and then my motion folks took that, and Ben did a lot of the rest of them based on the first one, and just made it better also.
You saved my life,
but yeah, and then we get these really nice.
I'd be willing to stay with me to the end.
I know you better than you think.
This part
Bound together by the light.
This part always gets me a little emotional.
Centuries looking for you. Only you.
How did you know you were looking for me?
I
Yeah.
guess the traveler knew, and that's all I needed.
So this
I don't understand.
idea,
Imagine having the visual of a color.
you know, like, you are my color. Like, I don't know, that just rang. This is all original writing, so like
Somewhere.
that just felt kind of like a really nice way to explain it.
There aren't any words to describe it to
But you know, like, imagine having someone like this who has your back no matter what, even when you know you don't deserve it, right? Like, you don't think you've done anything to deserve someone to be like, I've got your back. And that feeling, right, of like to believe that you're worth that to someone, that you have enough value that someone else thinks, you know what, you're worth that level of like commitment, of trust.
One that doesn't get answered by someone else.
It's like, it's a challenge. It's interesting, right? Like, I don't think everyone that's like, how did I deserve this kind of thing?
What you can do
And Ghost is very real, you know, his
against the dying of the
feelings and his commitment and trust and belief in you as an individual is very real and honest.
And humans?
But I wrote this section, you know, it's easy for me to just shut up and let it play. But if you're watching this, you've probably already seen this.
human side of you, the one
But this was very like, I felt really proud of myself for
but it is permanently affixed.
the way I talk about the light and explain my version of the light, which is very different. It's much more human. It's much more emotional. It's mystical. It's very tied to the way emotions kind of feel.
One foot both
But like this line of
guardians must forever
um,
their existence
I think really
are the words that it uses to speak to the world.
that line, you are the words that it uses to speak to the world, is like is the importance of what a guardian is and what it means, you know, and like the fact that you were chosen. And I think subconsciously there's a lot of me in this the whole thing, right? Of
Strongest in you from birth.
what it means to
But you will adjust.
try to do the right thing and try to be the best self,
You aren't alone in this.
even when you don't believe in yourself and you don't see what other people see in you. Because that's something I have dealt with a lot. Like,
Actually wondering if maybe
I don't understand why, but I've been very fortunate to have friends who care a lot about me. And even when I'm not necessarily caring about me, like, they
You can do that.
what about you?
are very protective of that. And I've never necessarily understood why, but they're clearly, I've been told that they have an intuition,
Anything new?
at least with me, and they think, like, they very strongly believe I'm a good person, and that
I'm having trouble deciding
it's interesting because I think
for a long time.
I've had to wrestle with that of like, God, am I worth that trust and belief, or am I worth that? And I think you're seeing some of that here of like what that feels like.
More scrap than needed for just a single walker.
So that was a really nice section
It would be a good idea for me to
emotionally for me, I think,
So let's go.
that can hopefully ring kind of human for a lot of other people, of, you know, trying to believe in yourself and having someone believe in you and realizing you're worth that, you know, because you are. You listening to this, like, you are worth that trust of, you know, that you can do that, and then you can do this, you can do life, you can carry on, you can keep trying, and that failing is okay, because that's part of how you learn, which are a lot of things that I had to kind of do alone, you know. I had to very much just deal with solo.
It's good to get out for a bit.
After being dead for a few hundred years, fresh air just hits different.
But yeah, this part,
I guess it does.
I knew I was going to switch to third person and combine Destiny 1 and 2. So the ghost obviously doesn't,
Nice to see you
they barely move in third person. It drives me crazy. Like, I hate how still they are.
today after we
And I knew I wanted Ghost to talk, but I didn't want him to be invisible the whole time. So I created this technique of having him appear in third person and then animate around. So I built the test out, built the animations out, and then handed it off to my team. And we had multiple people take my project files and then really sell it. So it feels real, right? Like ghosts flying around in third person and talking, but that's not the game. That's us doing that. And then we have this little office.
Well, he does have quite the history. He's one of the most experienced guardians that exist today.
In Yin's office, I did
Of his life over the years.
create my own like robot noise for these droids, and so I think Patricia voices these ones. Yeah. Which I really like. It feels like, okay, it's its own thing. It's not the game. It's not like trying to replicate what the game did. It's not trying to go too crazy. It feels like a really nice middle ground for how the like droids can sound.
Machines?
Droids meant to enhance his productivity. Though it is strange they haven't.
But yeah, a lot of these cinematics are not possible in Destiny. That's one of the things we've gotten asked a lot is like, how the hell did you guys do this?
But we can always.
Because we have no camera access. So,
You sure that would be okay?
I won't say anything if you don't.
oh yeah, and then the smartboard sequence.
So how do I access...
That animation's fake, by the way. Not everyone realizes this. That window on the smartboard is fake. That's not actually there. That's animated, and then we're tracking it onto the board. So I animated the windows here, fake sparks, and then design the whole UI system that pops up just now with the recordings and what that looks like, and trying to make it look like it belongs in the smartboard. And then the whole Yin audio log. It was funny how many people didn't realize that this was not in the game. People just thought these were screens on the game, and I was like, nope. It was fun to reveal that to a few friends. They were like, what? I'm like, yeah. Like it was a lot of work to make it look believable, down to the type of grain that's over the window, and really all the comp work took me a long time to really make it feel real. And then Ty Harper, who plays Yin, writing this saying this little piece that I wrote. And then this part, again, Marcus's music, unbelievable. All custom art, by the way. We had a lot of artists work on this based on the script that I had and the scenes I wanted done. We had multiple people touch on them. And then we animated them, put them in 3D, and did all this cool stuff, and volumetric lighting work. And so it was really nice to be able to put those in. But that scene was interesting because like Marcus had done that music you hear. It wasn't like tied to anything. I had just given him like explained music wise what I really wanted to hear, the intimacy of how Vero feels, of being kind of the only one, kind of all alone in a much bigger world, and then just the scale of the world around him and coming to terms with who he is in this place. But when he sent that music, I was like, in my head, I saw this. Because originally this was, you just stood at the board, heard Yin talk, and then it glitched out, and then it just kept going. But when I heard that music piece, I had this sort of like vivid visual of those scenes. And I was like, we have to do that. So it was kind of a later change, but we brought in several artists and got them done really, really nicely. Like I said, like a lot of people worked on this and did a really good job on it. And then we kind of introduced this idea of like the light lets you feel and like kind of feel and see other people's kind of emotions, like kind of empath-esque stuff. And when you're a new light, my whole concept was like, it's a lot stronger. You don't know how to control it. And everyone's a little different, right? But with Vero, it's really interesting because he can actually kind of feel the emotions through pre-recorded media. So he's able to pick up the sensitivity with light that's just very unique. But I thought that really adds the level of like being overwhelmed. Like if you're around a lot of people as a new light, it's going to be really hard because you're getting everyone else's emotions hitting you all at once. And trying to really be able to separate who's you and how do you feel versus how does everyone else feel can be really hard. So it changes sort of the journey a little bit.
I'm personally a very big fan of the sands off the coast of Africa.
The sand line, this became a meme. That's funny.
Far from here, you might enjoy.
Let's go for the walk.
You don't want to talk about your favorite.
You don't want to talk about your favorite kinds of sand?
Sorry, buddy. Maybe later.
That was
I can show you some.
this walk section took forever. There was like maybe 20 different versions I'd written. Originally, it was just a spiel about we're near the tower or we're not in the tower. No, it turns out we're in the wall and blah blah blah. Also, this is my excuse for the lift not being sensor based. The fact that it just goes up and down endlessly kills me. So I was like, okay, it's broken. That's how I'm going to explain it. Put a spark in there. But the section was very challenging because it kept just feeling flat to me. And then I realized, you know what, like this needs to be interaction between Ghost and Vero that like they get to know it. It has to be kind of enjoyable. So I wrote that sand bit because I just thought, you know, that's probably something Ghost would do. Like those are the things he sees, right? Like he goes around and he's like looking at every little grain and thinks that's amazing, but is really confused when his guardian that he's been sort of like having hopes about for hundreds of years, like isn't into the same thing. And he's like, what, how could you not be interested in this? And so, like I said before, like Ghost is really good out in the field, but he doesn't have the experience with a guardian. So this is kind of, you see him kind of fumbling and being really excited and kind of a child, like, what about this? Isn't this cool? You know, like showing something that they think is interesting and just trying to learn that like on the job. But this walking on the stairs, like you'll notice all the camera stuff isn't from the game. Like a lot of the camera stuff that you're seeing is we're doing to make you feel like uneasy. So you notice the camera swaying a lot more. It's meant to really heighten the sense of like kind of the uneasiness Vero's feeling walking on like something as flimsy as this, which is why I made it creak and like you hear all these sounds of like the chairs groaning because like you think it's gonna collapse. But that section took a lot of time before I finally landed on like, you know what, that's fine. You know, doing the favorite music stuff, doing the like sand conversation, I think that really humanizes Ghost quite a lot.
Okay. Let's take a look.
But this section here, this like standing on the railway, like on the rail, looking out at the traveler at night was one of the first things I wrote for episode 2 many, many years ago. And it went through different versions, but I always saw this moment. This quiet, calm, just sort of taking in the feel, right, of the last city on Earth, and which we name. It's in the UI for the tag. You'll see it's the name of the city is actually called Thea. So
This is its final resting place.
Protecting humanity from what?
A darkness.
and then this whole talk was a million. There were a million versions of this.
Together the answers.
Who is this?
It was so much. Because how do you do that, right? What's the best way to tell your guardian
What they're fighting for.
the scale of it? And in this world, there's like a process. There's like a pilgrimage that I invented for new lights to go on so that they are revealed things in the right order and in the right time so they can process it. If you do everything and tell them all of it from the very beginning, they're gonna be like, what? I can't even understand this. Like it's so much. It's what's the point? Like you can lose hope so easily. And so this is a very, very careful process, but that's been forgotten, because we hear from before, like Vero's the first new light in a very long time. So the pilgrimage hasn't been done in a while, and it's still kind of like, okay, this isn't, we didn't expect this. The city thought it was over. They thought new lights were done. No more were coming. The ghosts weren't returning with guardians. And then seeing the scale of this, like Vero goes from literally only memory being the inner destruction of the wall on the Cosmodrome to this, wanting to be like, how do people even do this? Like cities would be alien to him. And I designed this, so I thought, again, all of these gameplay scenes we shot. Those are our cinematics. We didn't take them from any part of the game. But I animated it because I thought, having a projector screen is really it was part of my vision for the tag system. More custom art. That's our art that we designed. You know, so different monuments based on the custom lore that the city has. Like there's a lot of original lore that I put in, and worked very closely with our artists of like what things should look like and why. And here's the base, the feeling of the city and the history. And like here we're seeing the chambers being built, right? In the early days, like the very early. It's why the technology is crude and we're using wood cranes, because it's humanity still rebuilding, versus now it's like we've sort of learned to revive golden age technology to a decent level, so we're starting to get some of those abilities back, but it's like humanity had to rebuild itself from almost nothing. And so I wanted to show more of that journey.
Inside the city, where the watchful eye that protects the city.
And then we have our cool intro here. Yeah, there he is. There's Dreschland, the most badass Titan on the planet. Dreschland's a character that's been in my head for the show forever. And when I first envisioned this, like, on the rail talking at night, there was always some other Guardian that came up like this. And Dreschland is played by Fred Tatajor. So you might know him as Soldier 76 from Overwatch, or he's several characters in Invincible. He plays Xur in Destiny, in the real Destiny. Fred and I have known each other for a while. He worked on one of the trailers. I was able to cast him as the VO for a trailer I did for Ark a couple years ago. And he was so happy, and he loved the writing on it, and he's like, you know, anything you do, I'm in, whatever the next thing is. I was like, really? I was like, well, I mean, I have this Destiny thing. I don't know if, like, can we do this? And so there was a conversation with Bungie's people and VO people and whatever about it, and then Fred said, like, yeah, that it was good, and that he would do it. And it's obviously very different character. It's not like official canon or anything, right? So, and it's a thing released on YouTube, but it was one of those really surprising things. And Fred killed it. Like, Dreschland is such a unique, specific character in Titan, and Fred was very character focused. You know, he was very like, okay, like, let's talk about, and I was able to really explain to him, like Guardians are very agile, like hunters are agile. Vero, you know, they move fast and quick. But Dreschland, he's a citadel. He is here, and that's where he is going to be. He moves with purpose. He speaks with purpose. He understands the weirdness that Vero's going through. And he is lethal in a fight. But, like, there's so many things. And, like, Dreschland and Fred just did an amazing job with it. And I did a lot of work on his voice to make it sound the way it sounds, and it just brings out this really cool tone. But Fred plays multiple characters in episode 2. This is the first one. And then this next scene is another really favorite piece of mine. And you'll notice, like, the music follows this trend of, like, when we talk about big things, we have more of the sweeping instruments and everything. But when it's a lot more focused on Vero, it shrinks in and you hear a piano, and it's very isolated because it's talking about the feeling of what Vero's going through as a person. And then this part is really for, like, all of us, right? Like, the first steps we took in Destiny, and both in game and in life, when we have to sort of maneuver this journey alone and we feel scared and isolated and no one really there to help us. You know, that hope that keeps us going through that darkness, right? Of, like, to get to the other side. I don't know. There's something really emotional there, and just seeing the journey that we all went on early Destiny. It's just, you know, in this form, I just saw that really clearly with that piano piece, and that wasn't originally planned. And then when I heard the piano hit, I just saw that. So we shot those cinematics. Those are actually game cinematics in Destiny 2. So I went in and shot those and put them in. But this whole idea of, like, here are the basics. And you need to be, before you even become a Guardian, you need to be open to being a Guardian and what that means. You know?
Thank you for saying that.
and just Fred sounds so cool. Like, and Fred and I spent hours talking about this, the new story that I was coming up with and the reasons for every. So there's a lot of understanding. Like a lot of the people that worked on this got a really good idea of like what the reasons are for things. And I remember talking to I think it was Svetlin about the world, because like there's so much groundwork that had to be explained. And I remember Svetlin afterwards just said, he was like, that is a really gifted way of explaining. Like he's like, this is a really, there's a lot, it feels real, you know. And that was really nice to hear. Oh yeah, and then we have Ivy.
Hello. Sorry,
Yay, Sarah McManus plays Ivy.
didn't want to ruin your special moment, but I'm a little bit of a fan. It's an honor to meet the first new light in a century.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Ivy.
Ivy has been quite excited to meet you for some time, ever since the stories from the Cosmodrome came to light.
So this, okay, I'm getting sucked into it. Sarah killed it. So I envisioned Ivy, first off, if you're walking around in the tower and Vero's ghost can fly around, so can other Guardians. And it makes sense to see that. So Ivy's not really there. That's actually, like, we're putting her there around Dreschland to make it, you know, look the way it does. But I created Ivy as this character. I thought would be really fun. And then the fact here that like she can tap into your tag and you see all these things saying that, like, you know, she's messing with this or adding this or whatever. Also, these sparks you see on the server, I had to put those in. That's fake smoke. You know, it's tracked. It's just ridiculous amounts of small things that took forever to get right and look good. But yeah, like this idea that you could see other Guardians' ghosts move around and interact with you and speak with you, that wouldn't naturally happen. So that was a fun level of work, and I think the character turned out really nicely. And I had to come up with these ways of like, okay, how does the tag system work with other ghosts, but like how could we use it that's interesting? And I had to design the rules and the OS and what that feels like. And then we have this like sort of the first moment that Vero's exposed to other people, right? Yeah. Sarah Ruth playing that mysterious Guardian. So this section, it was really, it's like the stepping out, you know, like Vero in the first episode went through the wall and exited the wall right into that opening, and this is sort of the same thing but with the tower, coming out and like, okay, there are people. This is, you know, and these are all cinematics too that we shot. I keep saying that, but I just, because not everyone like knows that, so I feel so proud that I cracked the code to how to get to do these without any tools from anyone. Like I absolutely no camera tools, which is just cool. But I rewrote. So the Donatari thing is original as well. I don't think that's how class items work in Destiny. So I just thought, well, this feels right. So I came up with this whole system of what a Donatari is. The name also, but the idea of these class items actually being things you're gifted from people in the city, because then it's the strength of you connecting to the people you're really meant to protect, right? It adds this level of depth and history. And then this idea that like some of the Donatari, because Guardians live so long, like you'll have generations of Donatari in the same family. You're like, yeah, I remember great grandfather of this person was the one who gave me this, but then the family generation, you know, maintained it. That was such an interesting point. I was like, because once I started to go down that hole, I was like, this has to be in there somewhere. I just think it adds a level of human connection, because when you're out in the field, it reminds you who you're meant to protect and who believes in you as well, right? Like, I think Guardians sometimes are treated like, yeah, you just go do the thing because you're the person. And it's like, I actually think they need to feel supported and trusted and believed in, just like every one of us, because they're also human. Like their human side is still there. So they have to have that level of like, they can lose hope. It can feel, you know. So I think in this world, my world, Guardians, as badass as they are, can also be a little bit more sensitive than I think they're treated in the like official canon. And then we have this little exchange. Wolf doing the side character. who, if you don't know, that's actually the reference to the Titan in the live action trailer for The Taken King. That's the armor set he's wearing. And I wanted to throw that in there because I just thought that would be a fun reference. And then we return with Hilo Emar from episode 1. You know, my ears are ringing. That's who's manning the desk. But like stuff like this, right? With the tag, like the fact that Ivy's like, I turned off some of your tag network capabilities, and we see her go into like the settings and disable stuff, and then I just thought it was funny if like she talks to you through text in your tag, so Hilo doesn't hear it, and uses these really old emoticon things, which is what I use. I don't use like emojis. I use the like literally the ones that Ivy uses. I have used before, and I refuse to modernize. So. I was just like, no, Ivy, it's a really nice character thing. But also, yeah, like this isn't operated by anyone, right? In the game, it's empty. And I just thought, well, I want someone there. Normally I would put a robot there, but like, if we can't do a robot, it has to be a person, then how could I make that work, right? And just the interaction between them and what that looks like. Play along. And then how the tags would basically be used to, you could scan and go through security quickly, but with things breaking down, you have some issues here. And then also that error message is fake. That's not actually on that screen. That's not from the game. I had to put that in there and track it and make it look like it was real. Yeah. For the longest time, I was going to cut this entire section because I was like, I just don't see it. Just doesn't. It was just a random guy. And once I made I realized Hilo could do this. He's got this goofiness that's just perfect. And you know, Marco Camerata just does this so well. And he inhabits that character so nicely. And that was my way of maintaining this section in. But yeah, like figuring out how this feels, and then and also just like how like Vero can't really make it too far, right? Like the whole concept of Vero's like the most kind of guarded person, more or less. But with all the systems kind of malfunctioning, it's a little harder to like have any systems watch Vero consistently. And Dreschland doesn't listen to it. Dreschland, he does what he thinks is right. And he definitely thinks that Vero should not be kept in the dark and should just start his pilgrimage. And so he's trying to sneak Vero through security. But obviously, like, you know, the Vanguard don't want Vero to wander on his own because he's the first New Light in so long. They want to be able to keep a close eye on him. So Dreschland just decides to be like, you know what? I'm going to help you get through security. So you're sort of like seeing other people help do things that like would be significantly more difficult on your own. And just like the reveal of trying to share like this is the New Light and the importance of that, and seeing Hilo actually being willing to do that for Dreschland, and also just because of the importance of that. Also, yeah, Sam voicing the droid. Terry, I named the droid. I just thought it'd be hilarious. So Terry's great. Anyways, there's just a funny little... And that's Patricia. Shut up, Terry. I don't know, I just wanted to add more characters to the world. But yeah, this feels like I could believe this, at least. I think that's where I was really struggling to try and get it to that stage of like going to security and like the whole process of that, you know, because in the game you just run, there's no one there, no one cares, you just run through it, it's an open, there's not really a thing. And so I tried to turn it into like, well, like realistically.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. And now you're gonna see a very big change. This little snippet. I get it. It's offline. I just thought that was funny. I thought it'd be really funny to add that as they're walking away screaming at the automated system. But yeah, now we're back, right? So, fun fact about this. Originally, the episode went like this. From the very beginning, you had the dream section, the nightmare. He gets captured by the creature, and then the entire snow section happened, all in one go, till the very end with the pipe. Like this is how it went, and I just realized that like the pacing felt off for the rest of the episode if I did all of it at once, and then everything else was the tower stuff. So I decided to split it. And do this sort of non-linear kind of storytelling. So we're kind of back in the nightmare Vero did have, which is why in the beginning when he's telling Ghost about it, you're hearing things that you don't remember seeing. So it's almost like you're hearing it for the first time with Ghost, for at least the second part of that. And then you actually get to see it, which I think the impact is so much better pacing wise. But yeah, God, pacing was so much work to do. You see those little flares I'm adding to the snow, the light. Like there's a lot of lighting work that's not from the game to get this like weird sort of scrambled feel to it. And then these lights, these like floating phantom lights, are also not there. I tracked those in and animated those. These like prism-esque things. And what you're hearing is actually Dreschland, the dialogue that originally happened right after the security guard stuff. Like that, there was a walk between that security station and the hangar, and that was the dialogue. There was a whole dialogue thing where Dreschland said some really great lines. But because of the pacing, I cut it and put this in its place. But my idea is like, you're sort of hearing what's happening in that walk, right? But this is from the dream from before, so Vero's sort of listening to what's happening in the future, technically, from this context or this point of view. So it adds this really nice layer of like time things to it. And then you see the bridge destroyed, and you know. But a lot of work had to go into making Destiny 1 look a little better, so that when I'm cutting back and forth between the two, it actually matches and looks okay. Because this is Destiny 2 on max settings as well. And then yeah, the hangar reveal, right? Like this is where a lot of the stuff happens. Hangars are really important in Destiny, and they have a lot of significance, and I wanted to build a section that really emphasized that, you know, talking about like this is where the stuff happens, you know. All these cinematics too. I felt really proud of how I shot this. You know, and just hearing the people talk, and we had other actors walking around, as you can see, like the Guardians. And, you know, there's so many. This took a long time. That's Avalon Penrose voicing that. She plays Majira in Hades, and she's also in Fallout 76, and I worked with her on a few trailers, and she's in also Monster Hunter Echo, which is cool. But yeah, and this was interesting. It was like, you know, because the facial animation and NPCs in Destiny like isn't like super insanely hyper realistic, and so I designed the like facial animations and everything to be kind of in line with how NPCs are in the tower, so it didn't look fully out of place. Because if we went super realistic, it would probably feel off based on the game. But yeah, I feel really like the moving like comms system, like seeing the heads and they're talking is a really nice addition. But now, you know, now you're hearing a lot of the changes that I'm doing, like with Dead Orbit. You know, Dead Orbit is this sort of faction that deals with a lot of the technology, right? And the communication systems and everything. So I don't know. It's just something really interesting there with all of that I run. There's a lot more, but I don't want to like just give all of it away like out of the gate. And there's Phaedra. That's Ellen Dubin. I've worked with Ellen for many years, and she's actually the voice in the movie Dune, the like Way of the Voice. She's one of the voice actors that does that, and she's been in tons of stuff too. So she plays Phaedra, the like person in charge and everything, and just has such a good voice for that. But yeah, I like just this idea that like could you even, like, you could break through security and Phaedra wouldn't find out? Like, eventually, you know, that is going to happen. But this part with, you know, this part of the hangar can't go away. I think originally, like, he would appear like once a week, but then Bungie made him just permanent, and I was like, I have to explain this. Like, if it's there and I'm going to show it, what can I do? And I came up with this new faction, and this new character named Isle, and which completely kind of changes the meaning of things as well. Isle's played by Ed Dogliani. You may know him as Lord of Bones in Game of Thrones, but he's also worked with him for many years. Insanely talented actor.
I was preoccupied.
Are these your birds?
Well, they do not belong to me, just as I do not belong to others. They come with free will.
But I feel really happy with how this turned out, because I went through a few versions of this, and when writing it, and like the character and the faction and the intro, like part of me was just not really happy with it. So I really felt like people wouldn't really either understand it, or like they would get tired of him talking. I was really unsure. Like, I felt really proud of what I had done, but I was like, I don't know if this is going to capture people. So I was really surprised when a lot of times people said this was their favorite part. Like, more often than not, the whole dialogue sequence with Isle became a favorite with a lot of fans. And like, it just was a really nice thing to see that it connected with people. Because I don't know, like, I wanted to make it feel real. I think it's easy to be like, I'm going to do this, and it's like a faction thing, and it just make it really shallow. But I wanted to really add the layer of depth to it. And the thing is I originally had a lot more to say, but I cut it short by a lot, because I was like, this is not the episode to just spiel everything about every faction all the time. Like, I have to at least give you enough that, like, it's an intro basic, but like, you haven't gone on your pilgrimage yet, so you need to really do that first. But it was a hard decision, right? Taking a pre-existing character and visual of a character, changing him as a character, saying it's someone else, you know, like, make him sound different. It is a totally different thing, but it requires a bit of a leap for people to be like, oh, okay, I got to forget that Saint is a thing and that Trials of Osiris is a thing, and ignore that, and then accept that this is the reality of the show. But, you know, this origin, yeah, that was like this idea I was having of, like, you know, if the light brings out the strongest in you, like, I don't know, like, there would likely be disagreements, right? About, are humans really the thing that we should be protecting? What if it's myself? What if it's us as guardians are the real chosen ones? And this whole notion of, like, focusing on that all are chosen in their own way, right? And that no one's above someone else, because there's this very very easy feeling of, like, imagine being just a normal human and seeing a guardian and being like, well, I make rugs. Like, how am I even remotely as important as a guardian? I'm not. Like, that feeling of not stacking up to a guardian, and somehow trying to believe that you're chosen. But that idea of, like, guardians are there to protect humanity, and so they're chosen for that purpose, while humanity was chosen in its entirety by the Traveler. And that feeling of, you know, you are equally as important in your own way, and what that means, you know, because it's all part of a whole and you contribute in some form. But yeah, that was a lot of work to add that. And I mean, honestly, Ed absolutely nailed it. Like, he hit the exact kind of voice that I was really hoping for, and the feel and tone of it. And the whole idea of, like, you know, the eye logo, and then, you know, that all are chosen in the eye of the light. Like, that was a very conscious decision.
I just wish I didn't need to leave the new light on his own like this. Do not worry.
And yeah, a lot of characters getting introduced in this one. So now we're seeing
We got your message.
Lucan, which everyone thinks is evil. But that's I think part of that's just Glenn. Like, Glenn McCready plays Lucan, He's in Baldur's Gate 3. He's in a ton of stuff. But I've also worked with Glenn for many years. A lot of the Pacific Drive trailers I've worked on, Glenn has done a voice in. But yeah, it's funny. Like it came out, and everyone's like, "He's evil. He must be evil." And it's like, well, all right. Who knows? You know.
But don't worry. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take that elevator down.
But now we're introducing this idea that I've had for a long time, which is the Destiny 1 tower and the Destiny 2. I refuse to call it tower. This is not the tower. I disagree with Bungie on this. This is not the tower. This is a part of a wall. This is not, you know, that's what this is. And in my ideal world, both exist. And so I decided that I came up with this idea of like, what if there's a transit system inside of the wall that you could use to maneuver and you know, ride through to the other side to get to the main tower or some of the other towers that are in the wall. So this was like our way of introducing that. But yeah, this idea that like they talked with Phaedra and the what they're telling you is like, oh yeah, we're being asked to blah, 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 blah. And I think it's this idea of like, yeah, do you believe that? Do you really believe that that's why they're leaving Vero alone? But I really wanted to make sure Vero was on his own for this, you know, like he, you know, being guided only works so far. Vero needed to maybe do something solo. And so, yeah, the loading screens that I put in, those are also my shots. But now we're in the transit station, which is a totally not... this is not a transit station in the game. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. This is a different area from one of the, like, maps of the game that I'm walking through. And I am doing a technique to hide my gun. So I have one finger constantly doing that, and then I'm maneuvering everything else. Also, that robot was fake. That was 3D tracked in. Same with the transit station text. There's a lot of visual effects work to make it different, right? And yeah. And then we're immediately withdrawn back into the earlier nightmare sequence. That sequence went longer. So Big Daddy Tej plays the Guardian on the left, and Jordan plays the one on the right. But that was a little cameo from Tej. But that originally went longer, and I cut it because it just felt like there wasn't a lot I was adding. And so now you're hearing Russian that isn't reversed. That's one of the big differences here. It's not reversed. You're actually hearing it, and you're hearing these explosions go off. And if you know Russian, you can understand what they're saying, but you're actually hearing Rasputin talk in this. So we got Rasputin voiced and, you know, lines and all of that kind of stuff. And you're hearing different characters in this world talking with Rasputin. Or about, I should say. So this whole sequence is like really kind of creepy, right? Because it's basically like... It's meant to be, you're hearing Rasputin respond to the darkness threat. And so you're hearing from, in a Russian style, like what is happening. And that's what makes this part so creepy, I think, is this idea of like, you know, the way they're responding.
I'm sorry, Guardian.
And then Ghost in a pipe, obviously, as you do.
It's all my fault.
Ghost, what happened? Where are we?
I need you to listen to me, Guardian.
But yeah,
This may be the last.
I feel like this really makes you kind of uneasy and wondering what the hell is happening. And
Before it cease. Our eternal fall.
and then right here you'll notice there's an eye, like the piping inside the pipe, the like weird lines look like an eye, and then you have Ghost illuminating the center, he's creating the logo of Omnis Electi. So that's done on purpose. So he's literally staring at the eye of the light and during the sequence. Which I don't think anyone caught. I don't think anyone realized that was connected that way, but that was very intentional.
Vero?
And then you're back.
Guardian,
Huh?
are you okay?
Oh, yeah.
Again, that also went through like a million iterations of like pacing wise, like when that should happen and pop
Just head
in.
straight
And
down this hall and we'll be able to make it to the platform in time.
so,
Okay. station, get on the train, and go to meet Atticus.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
But yeah, I feel pretty happy with how that feels. It's a lot better. I remember watching this and then see that section right there, the whole dialogue between the two. Just it was really nice, but it just took up a lot of time. You know, like you're just watching two people argue, and I just was like, you know what? Like, let's just keep the pacing going. But yeah, so this is all fake. This is entirely fake. This is not a place in the game. Like, there is no active train station subway system. I had this idea, and I built the first version of this, and then designed this whole, like, the writing and everything, and then I gave my project files over to our motion team, and they took what I did and then, you know, amped it a lot. I had a version of this where we come out and we see the city view, but you'll notice the city view is actually animated in this, which is really great. But yeah, Ben did some really awesome shadow work. You see these lights, and it just feels really nicely. And then I did the billboards up at the top as well. You know, so you're seeing these like political ads for New Monarchy and all of this kind of little subtle building. You know,
Hey, you are the one that gets to decide what kind of life you lead as a guardian. We all believe in you.
but yeah, I don't know. This section I thought was really important because imagine you're going through and everyone's heralding you as like the saving grace, right, of a dying city, and all the hopes are on your shoulders. And just being like, God damn, like, can I even do that? Can I even? Which part of it I think comes from me, you know, like when I built the company up and had a lot of people's jobs depending on me, and like what that felt like, and just being like, Jesus Christ, like, or even when, like, you know, like if a company asks you to do their trailer or their marketing, and you know they're going to go under if it doesn't go well, and the pressure that's on you for that, and like there's that feeling in general I think we're all familiar with, like when people depend on us, and how it can feel, right, of like, God damn, can I do this? Am I able to do this? And the fear that brings up.
Come on, this looks like our stop. Let's go get you some answers.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of it made sense for Vera as a character. And I think, you know, subconsciously I was also like putting in the emotions of like how I felt too about stuff. And then we have, yeah, this also is the completion of it. And then Terry making another visit. Poor Buddy being bullied. Yeah. That's Sarah Ruth Thomas doing that voice as well. And I've always envisioned this. For years, I envisioned this being down here being like the entrance to the subway thing that connects the two. So I felt so happy that I'm able to bring this. And now you're in Destiny 1, right? Like you're in the tower. And so much work went into... I went through every single armor piece, I'm not kidding, in Destiny 1 and in Destiny 2 when filming this, to try and match as closely as possible armor pieces between the games. And I did this for about a year. Because it turns out there are some armor pieces where the back end of one piece in Destiny 1 is actually replicated in Destiny 2. And so you have to mix match them. It just took a long time to try and match stuff.
Yeah. Are you the one that was sent to help us? I am. Dreslin informed the Vanguard.
But yeah, now we're with Nyx.
See? We'll be okay.
Just hope this goes smoothly. So, you're the one.
You're the one.
Hard to believe after all this time. I'm Nyx. It's an honor to guide you, New Light. Thank you.
Yeah.
We had some problems.
I feel like there's like a snippet here that feels like this is immersive play, and it's this right here. Destiny 1 walking with someone that's like kind of like explaining things and talking to you, and there's like this level of, I don't know, I've imagined this for so many years. So it can be weird to watch. And then, you know, having this idea of like, well, if all the systems are down, then security is probably a mess. And then you're just hearing all these frustrated guardians and characters, and this was a community shoot, so we recruited a bunch of people. After episode 1 came out, we had more than 500 people apply to be extras. And so we went through all of them and picked the ones that made sense. Got them under NDAs and everything, and then did this full. We took over an entire tower in Destiny 1, filled the server up. But then there was like 2 holdouts, and so it turns out I like messaged them, and we got lucky. They were fans of Solas, and I was like, "Do you just want to be in this?" And they were like, "Fuck yeah!" So we had people like participate just by sheer luck, randoms that were fans and knew what Solas was. And so every person that you're seeing is an actor for the entire tower, from the entire security to this entire section here. All moving. I'm directing all of them, saying, okay, you know, position 1 now, position 2 now, position 3. Because, you know, and it just adds a layer of just so cool. I was so grateful that our fans were willing to participate in this and be actors, and it really helped, you know, to try and like nail this. And we didn't want to like fill it up like too much because it's kind of in the middle of the night, which is the whole point, right? It's like Dreschlin thinking, you know what, like it's early AM. This is probably the best chance you're going to get if we're going to sneak you through to get to that pilgrimage. And then we find out that Dreschlin talked to Phaedra, and then they actually agreed that, you know what, fine, like we'll just let Vero go on his pilgrimage now. So Phaedra is the one that sort of the vanguard organizes this escort by Nyx, while Dreschlin's busy with Lucan. But yeah, that was a really fun thing to organize, and getting that Destiny 1 tower sequence, which is just iconic. And a lot of the audio you hear is actually fake. So the fire and the clothes rustling, and even down to the footsteps a lot as well.
I don't know how the city will take it, but they need to know.
We need to check our latest polls.
Yeah.
See how the news can shift perception for us.
And just hearing New Monarchy talk politics, that was just so fun, you know, like. But I created the atmosphere to try and make it feel very peaceful, and so you hear like, you know, bells and gentle birds and kind of morning-esque. But these footsteps in water are fake, like that sound and everything, and
It's quiet. Nice change.
it took me a while to really get all the Foley and everything to sound right.
That is your destination. Atticus's chambers.
Okay, I'll just head on through.
That is correct, but I cannot accompany you. You must walk the rest of the path alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Me to guide you.
Allowing me to guide you. This is cool. This robot line. We did a bunch of robot lines. I just thought that one was funny. I was like, I want to put that there. But now we kind of, this is, you know, I've been hiding the fact that like the pilgrimage is going to this. And the speaker in normal Destiny is named Atticus in my version. And the pilgrimage is, I built this pilgrimage idea, right? Of this is who you go to learn about your place in the world and in the universe. And also that's Fred. That's Fred Tattager as well. Fred does Atticus.
I am Atticus, the head of our Order of Scholars.
So I wrote this. This is all original dialogue. This is not what is said in this. This is a cinematic from Destiny 1 that really frustrated me, because in the cinematic it's like, I could tell you the stories of this and that, but I won't. And you just never hear anything. And this was my way of going back and fixing it 10 years later. I was like, this feels like this is what it should have been. But I didn't follow any of the writing in the cinematic. This is all my stuff, which I feel really proud of. It feels like it kind of hits exactly what I was hoping to hit.
Where did it come from? Why did it choose us? Why did it stay? I've spent my entire life looking for the answers. From dawn to dusk, within the shadow of the giant, I have crawled through the records to grant clarity to...
And then I envisioned... So this was technically the first thing I worked on visually. is getting this scene together. And then we did these cinematics from scratch. I wrote this all out, brought on Felix to do the images, and then me and the team, we worked really hard on animating everything. My first test was this to get the art style. I wanted this like old storybook-esque black and white feel to it that was grainy and had like an old film effect on. And once I built that out, then I brought the rest of the team on, and then it really stretched out and got really cool. But this was like a dream for me to be able to do this. And then the way we introduced this, right? First the moon landing and like kind of the story of humanity reaching for the stars, and then being able to bring it to this. The Mars sequence we all know from the beginning of Destiny, and then voicing it. I was so happy I got to do this, because this isn't voiced in the game. And this is the one where the sound effects are Paul Weir, who did the sound for No Man's Sky. He did all of this for us and absolutely killed it, which let us put in our own voices. So, a lot of voice acting, a lot of actors. But yeah, I feel like it just adds something really cool to this section. Now, if I was animating this, I would have gotten rid of the guns. Like, I get the idea they're meant to be like the prototype Guardians, or it's like meant to like allude to that. But I just don't. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't make sense why they would bring guns on Mars. I probably would have changed that, but yeah, a lot of work on this section that's going kind of under, like, behind the scenes. Fred just absolutely killing it. Which is really cool. And then we get this really nice like reveal. Also, music is still custom. This is still Marcus. Amazing score. But I think this whole section, like the entire conversation, the like black and white animations that we did, probably took upwards of 7-8 months, I think. And now we're back to, and that was like a remastered. There was visual effects work I was doing that you can't really tell in that sequence, that I was like adjusting things and whatever. But now we're back to this, which we also did from scratch. Yeah, this was so many months of work. It was a lot of exhausting levels of work. But I really loved being able to tell this sort of story in this way and really flesh out and add, my own style to this kind of world. And like the way the darkness being these like kind of hard to see things like tendrils in the dark is just really nice. And I don't know, I think that story that we landed on, I feel really happy with. But yeah. And there's so much lore that's being shown without talking that I can't, because it's going to spoil future episodes, so I can't really talk about everything in this, but this part here with the ghosts felt really really powerful. But like, and so far it's like moderately like, okay, like we're not going too crazy, right? And we got all these ruins that we're showing. I really wanted to track the journey right from the beginning. This took a lot. There were a lot of versions of this that was written. And that right there is the biggest bombshell that we have in this episode. The Awoken are not what you... in this universe, the Awoken are the first Guardians. And the whole idea of it, like them being closer to the sacrifice of the traveler, has made their light stronger at its brightest. Yeah, that was something that I thought there'd be more pushback on. Like, I legitimately thought making that change was going to be the most uproar. Turns out that was no, like I think it was surprising to see how many people thought that made sense. Like, there wasn't really, I wasn't sure making these changes, like how that was gonna be taken, because I was like, I know this is gonna be very different, and like, you know, people might hate me for this. But I'm trying to layer the foundations, right, of things, and building on top of that to flesh it out as we go on. But yeah, it turns out that it seemed people were far more accepting of what I did for with the Awoken. And you know, can you imagine, like, if when Destiny 1 first came out, getting something like this during that? Like, it felt so fitting that this is how your pilgrimage, you know, works. Yeah. And then we get this reveal here, the next big one, right? Which is that the light is finite. That's another big change I made. Like, there's only a limited number of revives that you can do. And of course, early on, you wouldn't know. So there would be this really big, like, realization of, holy shit. But even in the animation, like, early on, we did like reversed silhouettes. And then I remember we changed it to, well, let's make the Guardians white, and then when they die, we can drain turn them into dark bodies. Like, we can make them, like, you know, just cool animation wise, and I think that worked out really well. But yeah, and then just the realization of, like, what that battle meant, having to not have to worry about death, to all of a sudden realizing that your own, like, overconfidence is, you know, the reason for this, and not thinking things through, and just assuming, and just the painful lesson that is. And you know, the fact that Atticus was there, that's why you see him sort of wrapped up in that, because he was there in person. Yeah, very different from the game. But I do feel like that was still cut maybe a little short on that. I think there was more I could have shown. Yeah, Fred did such a good job. And the music rising.
Now you know our story. Where you and I are bound to the light. And he's right, you know. You will see great things from you.
And I don't know, I think that would be like a pretty fitting way to introduce you to the world that you woke up to. You know, and then there's just processing. And like, what does that mean? You know, how does that make you feel? And I will say I'm a very, like, an internal person. I think a lot about things, and introspective, and you can definitely see that from episode 2, I think. I had my partner told me that she was getting frustrated at Vero because she feels like he's just waddling in his emotions a lot, which it's true. He is, and because that's what I do, I think, at times, and that's sometimes how I have to process. But I don't know. I think there's a value in that, you know. Because I think you're not really going to have time after this. You know, with what happens from here on out, Vero's not going to be able to sit and just feel often. Like, he's going to have to do a lot, and this is his one chance to do so. But yeah, and then we have this whole interaction with Parker, which this whole dialogue sequence talking about, like, the sun was a realization I had when I tried to kill myself and woke up in the morning and didn't expect to. So I remember waking up to the sun on my face, and I don't know, there was something about that, thinking about the, like, you know, tens of thousands of years of humans waking up to the warm sun on their face and what that meant. And then I wrote because I'm writing a little book thing, and I'd written a paragraph about that, about the, like, ancestors and how they had to perform rituals because they thought the sun wouldn't come back, right? And then I just had this really interesting realization and put it in the book about, like, you know, maybe they knew it would come back. They just wanted the rituals for them to hope to be there, to see it rise again. And it was just, I remember the paragraph I wrote felt really profound. So I, like, months later, revisited that at one point, and I thought that feels really good. And so I put in this sequence with Parker and that dialogue, and to kind of represent that and that little bit of, like, that lesson about seeing the sunrise. And now that's a really good thing. I really like that, and I appreciate being able to feel the sun's warmth on my face, you know. So that part is very, very like, personal. But yeah, and then we have this, you know, little ending bit.
What will happen next, but no matter what, I'll be right by your side.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da. So that's episode 2. That's basically, okay, that's the emotional internal episode of, like, Vero coming to grips with what being a guardian is and being prepared. It's his pilgrimage from being a new light to young light, which is also something I don't think is in the game. So that's why at the very end you have that moment where, like, after his pilgrimage is done, they start calling him young light. So there's this sort of step process to becoming a guardian. Yeah, a lot of people worked on episode 2, and a lot of actors and artists, and thank you everyone for being a part of this little passion project of mine. It's very unique, very different, and very weird. I think when this came out, it was really hard, I think, when it released, because, like, I was really grateful how many people enjoyed the writing. Like, that was really nice, because I was kind of unsure of, like, people may hate this, you know, it's so different and it's so long, and, like, I don't know, like, it just feels really scary to do this. And I wasn't quite happy with it. Like, I was at mix number 112 or something. I had gone through 112 mixes of the entire 90 minutes, because mixing alone took months. It was months of work just to try and mix everything. And I finally I ran out of time. I was like, I like, this is it. Like, I don't have any more time after this, you know, I have to get it done. So the version that came out was kind of like, I think was, you know, somewhat like, yeah, like, oh, it was okay. Mixing wise, there's still a ton of stuff I would have wanted to go back and improve, but it's weird watching it now after all this time, 6 months since it came out. But I do remember being really kind of sad of, like I fully expected where it landed. I think it's only sitting at like 20,000 views. I was 100%. I was exactly where I expected things to be, because of how long it had been since episode 1, and this is longer and all of that. But it's weird putting all your time and effort and energy into something, and it doesn't get seen that much, you know, and, like, but just trying to still, like, focus on how you feel about it. And I feel pretty happy with, God, just being able to pull this off, you know. Fully self-funded, released for free, no sponsorship things. And yeah, I mean, you can see how long the credits are. Like, so many people were also, everyone got paid. That's the other thing. Like, all our animators got paid, our cinematic concept artists, all the voice actors as well. It was, yeah, because that was important to me. And then no AI was used in any way. So all the art is done by people. The VOs are all done by people. All the writing is done by me. We didn't use any AI for any aspect of this entire episode. just because it's important to me. You know, I think there's something that's very, you can feel the like human nature of stuff, and I just wanted to maintain that. So yeah, a lot of people knew I was working on this for a long time, and it'd be great if I could do stuff like this full time. God, I would love that. I would love to just write and direct longer form things. But that was the other thing. Episode 2 took a long time because, you know, I do game trailers for a living, and a lot of times I'm crunching very, very long hours on that. So that's one of those things where, like, they take longer just because I can't focus on it, like, full on. I have to do it in my free time, and of course, you know, grabbing something this big is insane. But yeah, thank you all for watching. This was the director's commentary for episode 2. I had a dear friend pass during the making of this, and she never got to watch it, which is really hard. But yeah, and then we made that logo. You know, I say it was made with human hands, but yeah, Nancy, thank you for all your help with this. She was very supportive during my hardest times, and I'm sorry she never got to see this, but I know she would have enjoyed it. So, but yeah, all right, everyone. Thank you for sitting through this. Sorry if I ramble a lot. This was kind of a hard one, but yeah, we'll keep going with these.